Why is the West, and particularly America, pushing their social agenda so hard on the Africans? This isn't really a business discussion, but since it's been asked in so many of my comments, I figured I'd take a stab at answering it. If you've followed the news, you've seen that many Western leaders have been making trips to Africa, and in every case, they've been pushing as their number one agenda social change in Africa. Meanwhile, countries like China and Russia have been pushing infrastructure investments, military partnerships, and trade deals that would benefit the Africans in the mid, short, and long term. The first thing you need to understand about the West is that they don't actually care about these issues. What they are looking to do is create tension within those societies. Now, you may think, what if we gave in to the West on social reforms that they're asking for? What I can tell you from living in the West is, as soon as you get to the point where you can agree on these social reforms, they're going to come out with the next level that's going to be even more extreme. And then after a couple years, when you get used to that, they'll come out with another group of social issues for you to argue about. And the reason for this is that as the people are arguing over these various social issues and as the culture is adjusting to these changes, the people in these countries are going to be taken advantage of. We've seen this in America, where many Americans are very poor and they've been hurt by inflation. But what are they actually arguing about? They're arguing over which bathrooms to use. And this is deliberate. The idea is to keep the people's eyes off the ball so that the insiders can take advantage of the situation. Now, many Africans, because they haven't been exposed to these social issues as long as Americans have, they're more quick to reject them, and that, I think, is working to their benefit. Again, the key thing to remember is the West does not actually care about these issues. What they care about is you fighting amongst yourself over these issues so that you can be taken advantage of. This is kind of like a used car dealer that wants you to argue over payments or colors as opposed to the price itself. It's a way to keep your eye off the ball. If you know this, you can see what the West is doing every single time. But let me know what you think. Have you seen these social issues being pushed in your country? And if so, how have you and the people you know reacted to it? I'm interested to hear what you guys think on the ground.
So apparently, this is the list of 10 African countries that have received the most aid from the United States in 2025. And I don't know why some African countries are not willing to learn. Like, it's crazy. The truth of the matter is that this aid from the United States is not because the United States cares so much about African people. Because of the resources in Africa, the United States is doing everything possible to keep their foot in the African continent. So they are standing 10 toes down, directly and indirectly, building military base and also sending aid to the African countries that are desperately in need, even though some of these African countries will survive without the so-called aid. But again, they are making it seem like without that aid, some of these African countries cannot survive. But the truth of the matter is that it's all political. All right, it's all political. This aid is not because America loves Africans so much, and also America is doing everything possible to encounter China influence in Africa. Remember, they started by telling Africans that China loan is a trap, is a death trap. Now, what about American aid? Is American aid not a death trap? Because if America gives aid to you as a leader of any country in Africa, you are going to listen to the American instruction. In every country in Africa that America is sending aid to, there is American interest in that country. And America always put their national interest first before any other thing. America is willing to bomb any country because of their national interest. And let's also remember that America will never allow any country to be bigger than them. This is why China is facing serious propaganda today. China is growing beyond American control. So, in all, America sending aid to some African countries is just another way to trap those African countries. Remember, Eritrea is hated today by the American government because Eritrea refused American aid. Burkina Faso is hated today because Burkina Faso hate and refuse American aid. So once you refuse American aid, you are an enemy to the American. You are an adversary to America. You cannot grow beyond American control if you are an ally to the American government. You cannot grow beyond their control. That is why China is facing serious propaganda right now from the United States. So let's be guided, all right? The United States can never allow any country on earth to be bigger than them. If that country dares to be bigger than the United States in all reformation, the United States will go all the way to make sure that that country is destroyed. That is why China is facing propaganda left and right. They tell you that Chinese loan is bad in Africa, Chinese loan is a death trap. But American aid is also a death trap. One of the reasons why America gives aid to countries around the world is the fact that if you refuse, you are likely going to be faced with political challenges. You are likely going to be faced with an economic crisis through American economic manipulation by forcing you or manipulating you to devalue your currency, which will eventually lead to economic unrest in your country. Or you are going to be faced with political challenges from your opposition. Or like America will do anything to make sure that you face political instability as long as you refuse to adhere to their instruction as an ally. So American aid is a serious trap. So African leaders really need to be very, very careful with this aid of a thing. They need to be very careful. All right. Shout out to the countries that made it to the list from Ethiopia, Sudan, Nigeria, Kenya, and the rest. But mind you, like I said earlier, if you continue to receive American aid, you will never be free from the oppressors. So thank you for watching and stay blessed.
Let me tell you what we used to do a long time ago when we were still kids. Yeah? When we were kids, sometimes it got to a point when you and your friend, you're not in good terms. You're not really friends, okay? But the fact that in your kids' home, they are rich or maybe they have something that maybe you don't have in your home. Maybe when they come to school, they have food, they are carrying beautiful things to school, and you are coming from a poor family where you cannot be able to access these kind of things. You tend to make friendship with this kid. Maybe you're not even friends. Maybe you're not usually friends, or rather you're even enemies. Or maybe there was a day where you people entered into an argument, and then you're no longer friends. But because they always have something you don't have as their friend, you tend to make friendship with them. You tend to pretend you care so much about them and you are a good person and something like that, just to bring them close, because your intentions is not to create or to develop a good relationship between the two of you. Your intention is to gain, or maybe to have a share of what they have. Yeah, your intention is to put your hand or to be placed on the table during the time of sharing what they have and you don't have. So the intention was not to create good relationship between you and them. This is your enemy, or this is someone you've entered into an argument before. You are always not in good terms, but simply because they have something that you might need in one way or the other, you tend to make friendship with them. This friendship is not a genuine friendship. It's a friendship that has been attracted by something. Yeah? It gets to a point of even like it went even to our homes. Yeah, your friend has something at home, they have something at home, and maybe you want to go to their home and maybe watch television or something like that, but in your home you didn't have a privilege of having those things when you were young. So you make friendships with them, so that when you go to their home in the evening after school, he will not ask their parents to get you out, or rather to chase you, because maybe you some day back then you quarreled with them, or maybe you entered into an argument, or maybe you're not friends or something like that. So I gave you an example because I want you to I want you to listen to the videos that I'm going to play for you. And the question of the day is that, why do you think Westerners or Europe have so much interest in African matters and African business? Because we know very well that a time back then, we have been colonized by the West, and a lot of things that belonged to Africa, a lot of people who were living in Africa, especially our ancestors, they went through some difficult shit under the hands of the Westerners, under the hands of the colonizers. Yeah, they came to Africa in the name of missionaries, and then whatever happened. Yeah, and I don't think that this is the time when someone will come and try to tell you that I want to help you because of what you're going through, because of 1, 2, 3 things that you're going through right now. So I've sat down, I've been thinking about it, and I think I need to come and help you because of what you've been going through. Yeah, I don't think if that is a genuine help. Yeah, because if there would be people with a heart of help, what Africans have been going through many years, what black people have been going through under the hands of the white men in the land of a white man in diaspora, in the US, in Europe, they wouldn't have been going through. At least it would have been limited. Those people have gone through real trauma. They've gone through real trauma for the years, and nobody cared about it. So I don't think if they have the interest of black people at heart, yeah? But I want you to watch these videos. Tell me what you think. I'll come back and talk about it also and give my sentiments about it. But before that, let's get to the videos.
So why is the West pushing social issues so hard on the African continent? You've probably seen stories like this, where the aid that is being offered to Africa often comes with stipulations that they have to enact social reforms that are pretty unpopular. Well, there's a reason for this that I learned in politics, where I spent the better part of a decade being elected, and I want to share those with you. So one of the things that I learned in politics is that the general public has a limit for how much outrage that they have. So if they spend all of their time being angry on social issues, they don't have any time to be upset over economic issues. So if we have an aid package come in that comes with a whole bunch of stipulations that the people find really, really unpopular, they're not going to notice when the terms of that loan really work against their economy, or it's all siphoned out back to the West, leaving them with a whole bunch of debt. Again, it's a typical trick that we do in Western politics to our own people. Create social issues that people get really riled up and angry on, because as long as they're angry about social issues, they're not angry about the financial issues. What we want from Africa isn't social reform. We genuinely, I'll tell you, we don't care about those issues that we say we care about. What we really want is the resources and the money, and to kind of keep them down. So again, if you see us pushing a whole bunch of weird agendas on you and you're like, why the heck are they doing that so hard? Well, now you got the reason. You'll be fighting over these social issues, and you're not going to see that we're taking money out of the back of your pocket. Hopefully that's of value to you. Anyway, I'll see you guys on the next video.
Well, the Americans have not hidden the reasons for those bases. They have made it very clear is to protect American interests in Africa. What are the American interests in Africa? The American interest in Africa is not to protect the African people. That's not an American interest. One discernible American interest in Africa is minerals, to protect their access to strategic minerals. Today, DRC holds about 70% of the world's cobalt deposits. Zambia, which is a neighbor to DRC, also has got huge deposits. Niger holds 70% of the world's uranium deposits. DRC has uranium, Zambia has uranium, Namibia has uranium. These are strategic minerals. These are what the Americans are protecting. Protecting from who? From us, the Africans, the owners of these minerals? Certainly not. They are trying to protect, to monopolize these minerals, these strategic minerals. Protect, keep away primarily China. Their talk is about China, 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 China. But China is not an enemy of Africa. We have never been colonized by China. There's no single African country that was a colony of China. Even today, China has never colonized and is not intending to colonize an African country. China has never shown any imperial interest in Africa. China was there with us. In our liberation struggles, China supported us. When the West was colonizing us, China was helping to liberate us. China was there to defend our independence, economically and otherwise. For instance, my country, Zambia, it was blockaded. All our neighboring countries were still under colonialism. We had no access to the ports from Mozambique, from South Africa, from Namibia, from Angola. But there was no proper road, there was no rail. We asked the Americans, the British, to help us put up a rail system to the port of Dar es Salaam. They refused. President Nyerere of Tanzania came on behalf of Zambia and Tanzania to ask the leadership of China under Chairman Mao, Zhou Enlai, for help to build a rail. China at that time did not have the capacity, but China said there's no way, they have to do it. They mobilized both the human capital, the materials that were needed, the finances that were needed. It was a very difficult task. China did not have that type of rail infrastructure in its own country, but the Chinese people were ready to build that for us. And in the process, China lost 70 of its own citizens, of its own people, in the construction of that rail. The remains of those 70 Chinese people still lie in Zambia. We have 70 Chinese people buried in Zambia today. We have Chinese solidarity that will never be forgotten, that will last forever. At that time, China did not have a single mine in Africa. They did not have a single corporation operating in Africa. Not a single one. So it was selfless, noble assistance to fellow brothers and sisters. China has continued even now when it's doing well to cooperate with Africa. If you go to Africa today, you see a big hospital. 99.99% probabilities that it has been built by China. If you see a big airport today that is new in Africa, it's a very high probability that it has been built by China. If you see a rail network that is new, know that it has been built by China. You see a big bridge that is new, it has been built by China. China is there for us. Yes, there are challenges here and there, and the Chinese authorities are dealing with those challenges. And in the first place, let's not forget that our own colonization was done with military, with force, brutal force. It was maintained with brutal force. It is being continued today in a new way again with the militarization of the African continent. Whenever there is resistance to their mining interests, they have not hesitated to use the military. So part of the militarization that we are seeing of the on the African continent, one is to protect their minerals and to ensure that they enjoy the exploitation of these minerals at the exclusion of China and the others who are progressive.
Thank you. Chair Langley, can you talk about why we care about what's happening in Africa right now? I mean, what if you tell the American taxpayer, why are we there? Why are we spending the money we're spending there?
Thanks for that question, Senator. For access and influence. I'd say that a number of countries are at the tipping point of actually being captured by the Russian Federation, as they are spreading some of their false narratives across Libya. And from a strategic answer piece, access influence across the whole Maghreb, that is NATO's southern flank. We need to be able to maintain access and influence across the Maghreb from Morocco all the way to Libya. The PRC and Russia are also remaining exploitative where possible and coercive when necessary. They want that ground. They want power projection capabilities. So for the most part, the rest of the continent is also for mining concessions, whether it be gold or rare earth minerals. Both of them have a long-range plan. But I think at the accelerated pace, the Russian Federation is really trying to take over Central Africa as well as the Sahel.
Thank both of you.
In Africa, yes, because there is a policy of the American government. It's called the Kissinger Report, which was produced in the mid-70s when Henry Kissinger was involved with the government. And it explicitly states, which to this day, it remains the official policy of the American government. It has not changed. May not be implemented by Trump, but it remains the same. That the purpose of the foreign policy in Africa was to reduce the population. So to give aid to countries in Africa, not clean water and schooling and things like that, but contraception and abortion, in order to shrink the population of Africa, because they have great mineral resources there.
That sounds diabolical.
It is, yes.
That sounds like something conceived in the mind of Margaret Sanger.
Yeah, definitely. And so at the time, Kissinger and those involved with the Carter administration wanted to shrink the population, make sure that the Africans do not develop and do not use the resources for themselves, because we in the States, we need them. There is a concerted effort of foreign powers to control the population of Africa. Africa is a huge continent, could feed thousands more people, but the policies of the West, especially in Europe. For example, between 1990 and the year 2000, the United States, Canada, and Europe contributed about $6 billion in contraceptives, not to help the people, not to give clean water, clean food. That is
not to fight malaria, for example.
No, of course, perish the thought, never. Yeah. Let them die. That's the whole idea. So in our work in HLI, we denounced this reality to make the Africans aware that they have to defend themselves against the influence of foreign powers.
Now, many Europe countries, many Western countries, they're in Africa. Some of them have been to Africa. They've been taken out, like those who were in Burkina Faso, the France government, they were taken out by force. Right now, as we are talking, it has really happened mostly in the West Africa, where these people have been expelled from those countries. They've been asked out of those countries. But even after they've been asked out of those countries, they really want to come back. They are really forcing to come back to Africa, because I think they are getting a lot of privileges from Africa, and that is why, and therefore, it's very difficult for them to actually get rid of Africa, because the moment they get rid of Africa, that means they will have gotten rid of many things. Yeah, a lot of things they've been getting free of charge, they may not continue getting it anymore, because Africa has been taking care of them for all these years. Therefore, and Africa is still taking care of them. I told you in the last video, I've told you in many videos of mine, that the existence of the Europe countries is as the result of them associating themselves with an African continent. But if they get out of Africa, it becomes very difficult for them to survive. Let's talk about France. France was in Burkina Faso, and France has been expelled out of many Western countries. But since France got out of those countries, they were expelled out of Niger, they were expelled out of Mali, they were expelled out of Burkina Faso, and many countries, yeah? And since they were expelled out of those countries, their economy has really deprived. Their economy has really gone down. Like, even the level of development, how they used to get money and all that, it has really, 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 really gone down. Yeah, it has really depreciated, and it's because they were expelled out of some of the African countries that they were doing business in. They have been given conditions. If you want to continue doing whatever you want to do in Africa or in our countries, you must go through 1, 2, 3 steps. You have to respect, yeah, you have to respect, our decisions. Yeah, you have to be in our country. We're not we're not stopping you from coming to our countries, but follow the conditions. Under certain conditions should you be in this country. Yeah, under certain conditions must you be in this country. You cannot be in this country however you want. It has really affected them because they depended so much on an African country. That is why a country like the United States of America cannot get its feet out of Africa. It's like a nightmare to them. Yeah? So, the reason as to why they do not want really to get themselves out of Africa, it's because Africa is feeding them, Africa is developing their countries, Africa is their happiness. Africa is giving them life. They're breathing because of Africa. Yeah? Africa's given, okay, it's God who's giving them life, yes. But the fact that they have associated themselves to Africa, they have found a more better life than maybe the life they would have lived if they would not be part of Africa. Yeah? Nobody needs to lie to us that when a Western country or when US is in Africa, when Europe is in Africa, it's in Africa for the benefit of a black person or the benefit of an African who is living in Africa. Yeah? We've seen a lot of things happening in Africa. Of course, they will come in the name of helping Africans because they want nobody to trace their moves. They do not want anybody to be able to trace their moves. That is why they will come with a lot of narratives. We are in Africa because of this. We are in Africa because of that. We've seen terrorism in Africa. We want to minimize the level of terrorism or the rate of terrorism in Africa. That is why we are going to Africa. Yeah? They will say there is a certain president or a certain leader, a certain head of state in Africa who is mismanaging the public resources, who is making bad use of the African minerals and all that. That's what they said towards Capt.Ibrahim Traore, which is not true. They will say, of course, we're in Africa because we've seen children dying in Africa because of certain diseases, and therefore we want to send drugs to Africa. But sometimes it might be true, those kind of problems are in Africa, especially diseases and all that. But me, I fear Europeans, I fear Europe governments to an extent. Sometimes I normally think that sometimes they can even go to an extent of causing diseases and then portray themselves as the saviors, so that when we look around, you cannot be able to see any other saviors than them and have no option than to accept them as the saviors, have nobody else to run to, but to run to them as the saviors so they can come and help us. Are you getting that? Now, that's what they do. They've gone to their laboratories. They have tested, they are trying to make some kind of drugs and antidotes. The only place they can come and test those drugs is in Africa, using maybe African animals or testing from African children and mothers and fathers if those drugs can work. They can't test it from their countries. They only want to test it from Africa. I've seen it happening, even in Kenya. There was a time that animals were supposed to be to be dewormed in Africa. I think 3 months ago. It was a narrative that was brought by President William Ruto. Yeah? And mind you, at that time, Kenyans are dying because of anger. They are being overtaxed. Roads cannot be built in Africa. There is no development. Children are not going to school. Parents cannot find food to put on the table. But you see, President William Ruto is coming with a narrative that he wants to deworm animals using, I don't know, 3 billion or 10 billion. But it's just a lie because he wants to use the public funds, put it in the bank that he bought. But the medicine that he's going to use has been brought by America to Africa just to do some testing if it works. But they would lie to Kenyans that it is a project. Yeah? It's a plan and we know it. That is what they do. We've seen them doing mysterious things. We've seen people being unalived. War is in Congo right now. People have been fighting in Congo for many years. The war has never ended for many, many years in Congo. And nobody's talking about it. What they say is, we want to help Congo, we want to help Congo, we want to help Congo. US were given an opportunity to go to Congo, take 90% of the minerals in Congo so that they can be able to help Congo, Congo get out of war, to minimize the war that is going on in Congo today. Are you getting my point? Now, I want you to take a look, and I want you to do your statistics, just slow by slow. America was given an opportunity to take out 90% of the minerals in Congo and help Congo, help to minimize the war that is in Congo. I want to give you another 10 years. If Congo will not still be fighting, you'll tell me. And if the war stops in Congo, it will not be America which will have stopped war in Congo. Maybe God, or maybe just other people who will come and do whatever they will do. I don't know what is it to stop war in Congo. But the happiness of the Europe is that Africa should not be at peace, is that Africa should not be well developed. Africa should not be rich. Africa should not live well, so that they would come as helpers. They will always want to look like good Samaritans to help Africa. They will come in the narrative we want to help Africa. That is the narrative they will come with all the times. Are you getting my point? So, personally, I cannot tell you, and I know that is the truth, because if the West would want to help Africa, it would have helped Africa a long time ago. We don't need anything else. Yeah? I don't think there is anything else we need as black people from Europe. Africa has everything. Africa does not need the help of the West. What West need is the help of Africa, because Africa is the one that is helping the West. But they're hiding the fact that we are helping them. So they're coming to Africa. They don't want to put it look like we are helping them. They don't want to accept the fact that we are helping them. So they will come with the narrative of we want to help Africa, and then they continue stealing from Africa in the name of their helping Africa. They don't want to accept the fact that they're the ones who are being helped by Africa. Yeah? So I don't think that their interest in Africa, they are very much interested in Africa, and I don't think they are in Africa to help Africa. Because the problem that is in Africa right now, I told you in the past video, I never knew that in America we also have poor villages. We also have street kids who cannot even, they don't have a place to live. They don't have homes. We have people who are sleeping angry in America. I never knew that. I just knew it recently, and I was like, what? This is unbelievable. So there are even people in America who cannot even go home. They can't live like in their homes. And I'm like, what? I used to think these are problems that are affecting Africans only. I used to think we can only find street kids and people who are sleeping outside angry, people who are not going to school in Africa. It's also in the United States of America. And my question is, how would you want to help a country that is miles away from you, whereas you have people in your country who are houseless, who are homeless, who are angry, they're sleeping angry, they can't get even food? Like, how is that even possible? Yeah? Charity begins at home. Before you help a neighbor, or before you see a stone or a pick in your friend's eyes, take what is in your eye first. Clean your eyes first before you consider cleaning someone else's eye. Yeah? This shows that they are coming to exploit, not to help. And that one, we've known already. Tell me what you think of the comment section. I'll do my best to make sure I read all the comments and give a response where possible. This is the African Streamline. I am Atamba Hedi. Thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you so much for being here. For the returning subscribers, you know what I do. I give you salute every time and every moment. For those who are here for the first time, consider subscribing. Don't forget, that's the only way you can really help me. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for making this channel stop over today, and I really love you so much. God bless you and take care of you in everything you're doing. My black brothers from Caribbean, from diaspora, and everywhere, even in Africa, I tell you, Africa is home, and anything that concerns Africa concerns me and you as black people. God bless.